we're live. Hopefully, this is working the way it's supposed to because now we can live stream on both YouTube and Twitch at the same time. Looks like we're live on both things and things are working. So I'm hoping this works out the way it's supposed to. Oh, goodness. Y'all don't need me in surround sound or echo mode or whatever, but okay, cool. So far so good. First chance we're trying this. Thanks for those of you that have joined because this is kind of like sudden. We didn't really talk about this. We wasn't really like, hey, this was a thing that was planned. But you know what? I saw that they were allowing us to stream multi-stream now on Twitch without getting penalties. So I figured let's try it and see what's up. So yeah, it looked like a few of you were already waiting on YouTube, which is great. So the plan for today's stream, for anybody who's curious, is I get a lot of questions. A lot of people like to post stuff in comments. A lot of people like to send stuff in DMs. I generally tell people I don't take deck lists in my DMs. Now, if you look at the description of any of my videos, I do have a Discord. So if you go to my Discord channel, you can post stuff in there all the time. People are always helping each other with decks. I also have a membership level where you can send something directly to a forum that goes right to me, and then I will personally go through it, look at your deck list, give you tips, break stuff down, and I give that attention to everybody who sends one of those. So those are the ways you can generally do it. However, on days like today, we just post a live stream. And if you have your deck list on a website that's hosted that I can get to easily, then we'll go ahead and talk about it and we'll see if we can help you out. So we're going to do this for probably about an hour or two, depending on how active y'all are, how much help you need. But yeah, but while people are getting situated here, we have Vidal Getter says, "What up, PowrDragn? What up to you? Welcome, welcome." Also, Alexander Terran says hello. Hello to you too, friend. And Joe Foltz also a hello. So good to see you. Glad to have some people in here early. Okay, let me ask a question of y'all right now while we're getting people in the chat. How many? Actually, that's probably not the right question. Like, what? How do you feel about standard right now? Because it feels like we're seeing a lot more decks than we used to. Like, don't get me wrong, there's still a lot of mono red and you're still seeing a fair amount of shielded. But even then, those decks are starting to have different variants, and we're starting to see some different stuff on the ladder. And the videos aren't getting so repetitive. Though I did have one last week that I played like 4 mono red decks, but generally it feels pretty good. You know, I'm not hating. We got a lot of people saying hello. Andrew Klein, hello to you. The Relinquished, Paul Dodd is in here. Davey J72. Some of the regulars hanging out. Rapid Fire Geek for Hire. That is a long name, but very fun. Welcome. A lot of y'all are hopping in here. So, welcome to my first simulcast, simul stream. I think simul stream is the term for being on Twitch and YouTube at the same time. Standard feels healthy. I agree, Panzer. I agree. Let's see. Old Napkin I says way better than it was over the summer during the yeah, I agree. Eldraine really did a good job to bring stuff up to speed, I think. For sure. Igor Vulo says, no questions, just facing my wife's team in game 7 of the ALCS tonight. Oh, see, that's rough. For those you know, ALCS is baseball, American League Championship Series. Whoever wins that goes to the World Series. If it's game 7, that household's gonna have a fight. I don't know how y'all maybe y'all should have like a friendly bet. Like loser has to give the other a foot rub or something. So it's not like so angry when it's all done, you know. Maybe do something nice for the partner or something. Let's see. Raspberry Mocha says standard's okay. I'm mostly annoyed at the number of control decks out there in Arena. There is a lot. There are a lot. That leads to some games being long and kind of drawn out, but there's still a good variety, though. There's still a good variety. Standard feels healthy enough to be able to experiment, but if you want to actually get past Diamond, you have to play 5-color Domain or Mono Red. I do not believe that's true. I do not believe that's true. I've experimented with, like, here's the thing. I play a lot of decks on my channel, and what y'all don't see is some of the times I'm tanking my rank, taking a bunch of losses while I'm testing different versions of the deck, and I'm still able to make Mythic most of the time while goofing off. So if I can do that, it's definitely possible because I'm not even playing well some of the times. It's just, you gotta mess around and find what works for you. What do I think about play boosters? I have two podcasts where we talked about it: Color of Magic and Magic Mics. You can download it anywhere you download podcasts. Generally, short version, not a big deal. Long version, you probably want to listen to the podcast. Feels much different than just a Traxa scoop. Yeah, Traxa was everywhere for a minute. You're not wrong there. All right. Non-abnormal says non-abnormal. So if you're not abnormal, then you're just normal. Is that what that means? That's a funny name. Hello, Tall Paul. How's it going? Old Napkin Eye. Go Rangers. Yep. Hope y'all get a win. Yeah, y'all are active today. I appreciate this. This is going to be a good stream. This is going to be a good stream. All right. So here's how this is going to work. You go wherever you go to post your deck list, and it has to be a site that's easy for me to get the deck list off of. Generally, that's going to be like Moxfield, Aether Hub, MTG Goldfish, anything like that. And then you post your link, and then I'll bring it up, and we'll talk about what issues are you having, what do you want to change, what do you want to fix, that sort of thing, and then we'll see how many we get through. Now, if you want to do this regularly, for those of you that just joined, you can always join the Discord. I leave the link in every description of my videos. We have a bunch of people that work on decks and help people out in there all the time. Or if you want to get direct help, you can always become a member on YouTube. I have a membership level that you can send stuff right to. It gives you a form. It goes right to my email, and then I get back to you with detailed help. So, but for today, all free. If you'd like to subscribe, super chat, become a member, be a follower, all that good stuff. Obviously, I appreciate it, but not mandatory to get help today. So all of that being said, let's hop over to the other screen here. And let's say, hey, thanks for a new follower. Already coming in hot. Love it. All right. So those of you that are wanting some deck help in standard, let's see those deck lists. So I'm going to give you all time to get those in. Remember, do not post it in the chat. You need to host it on a site somewhere and send me the link. These chats are not built for you to post long deck lists, and it'll just truncate it, and I won't ever see them. I'll see like the first, I don't know, usually like the first 8 or 10 cards, and that's about it. So you got to send me a link to somewhere. As soon as somebody gives me one, I'll snag those and we'll start talking about it. Jen Francois, yeah, like Marvel's incoming, like kind of. It's like 2 years away almost. So, like, it's cool that we're getting it, but I don't know if it's hype worthy at this point. Like, we'll be talking about it much later, I'm sure. Rapid says my super friends list. I'm trying to fit 2 board clears in, and I'm not sure what the best version is. Sure, post the list. Give me the link. We'll talk about it. Trexadaxel says, howdy. Well, howdy to you, friend. Relinquish, thank you for some super chat action there. $2 donated. Here for the good vibes. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. All right. Let's see. Fidel Getter says, with the deck list I posted, I just want to know if there's really any more consistently. Oh, yeah. Okay. I did. I remembered something. There is an issue. Because we ran into this last time. There is an actual issue here that if you're on YouTube, you're going to have to post the deck list in Discord, I believe. Because I think right now, unless you're me or one of the mods, YouTube blocks people from posting deck lists or links. So that's probably the only way to do that right now. But the link to the Discord is in the description. You can just click that. Just post it in the standard section. Let me know you posted it, and I'll just snag it. I think that's how we had to do it last time. There's really not a better way for that, unfortunately, at the moment. I wish there were, but there's really not. That thumbnail is my favorite thing. Thank you so much for doing this and for all you do for the community. I was just goofing around. I want to do something fun. It's kind of silly, but it almost looks like I'm wearing a doctor jacket. Why are there cards? Let's see. Why are there cards from Modern Horizons 2 not on Arena? Really none of the Modern Horizons cards except for a handful of them that I think were in the whatever we called those things for historic anthologies or whatever I think is what it was. those cards are for Modern, and Modern does not exist on Arena yet. They did post that they're working with outside studios to try to get more cards into Arena so we can have Modern sooner. And once that happens, those will probably get included. But for the time being, they're not in there. Wish there was a better answer, but unfortunately, that's it. But yeah, let's see those deck lists. I want to help some people. Y'all are getting my time right now. By the way, I went out and I picked apples for not the first time. It's been a long time since I picked apples. Went out and picked some apples, went to some local farms, and they actually had pear cider, which is the first time I've ever had this. Looks pretty much like apple cider, but tastes like pears. I don't know what to tell you. It's really good though. James White, hey to you too, friend. I think got it as Rapid Fire Geek posted over in the Discord. I have V Lasers list in there currently. Rapid Fire Geek, looks like you put it in the main channel. I will snag you next. So you are second in the queue. Oh boy, it's a Celestinate Enchantments. Okay, here's the thing, y'all. If you're posting lists that already exist, that are already popular, you're going to get a lot of generic feedback. And I don't mean this to sound rude, but if the thing already works, I'm just going to tell you to play more of what already works. You know what I mean? Well, let's take a look anyway. Let's see what we got. Also, I have a different list of Celestinate Enchantments that I'm probably going to play in a video in the next couple of days. But generally speaking, let's see. Tammy, like, I get what's going on here. This feels like somebody who's playing a deck that ultimately probably has their stuff get killed a lot, if I were guessing. Right? But this is whenever an aura enters the battlefield on your control, you draw a card. Like, this is kind of interesting, but it's just not better than a lot of the other stuff you can do. Like, if you're just more ossifications, removing your opponent's stuff, just playing more companions so you can straight up draw a card. You know, even some of the versions that are playing Audacity, so you have a chance to draw a card when your creature dies or whatever. That solves a lot of what this is trying to do. I mean, this is cool if you get a Calyx, and then Calyx is copying a thing, and then that counts as getting you another thing, and, you know, like, that's cool, but at that point, you've kinda already gone off the rails and done what you're gonna do. The problem with something like Archon here is you don't really have any auras, right? You've got Catilda that might die and come back as one, and Royal Treatment, and that's kinda about it. So I wouldn't even play the Archons. Again, this is kind of the advice that's coming back to the decks that already exist. Just play more Hallowed Hauntings. Those are going to get you more bodies and eventually have flyers you're just going to attack and win with. There's just not a need to play this. Like, I think if you want to play Archons and like Lookouts and whatever, you almost need to go a whole different way and play like the Spellbook Vendor and that type of stuff, and then just go heavy on the auras. And it almost has to look different than it does now. Because even with this build, like, Yenna's cool, but you're kind of like trying to piece together something while also trying to do the old, I say old, from the last like 9 months to a year, green white enchantments thing. So like I would give this another look and decide like what's really going to be important for you, because even as you start adding spellbook vendors and a fourth archon and whatever, well, now your Jukai Naturals does a lot less, right? Because now you have a bunch of stuff that's not enchantments anymore. So you have to start, especially if you're going to be playing Tangled Lookout, whatever, you have to start contemplating like how good is Jukai Naturalist at that point. Like, Naturalist is good in the traditional, and again, loosely used traditional green-white list, because you have a full set of ossifications, full set of companions. You know, you've got full set of Hallowed Hauntings usually some other thing that's removing or exiling creatures as well. Often the green creature that's pumping up your other enchantment creatures, right? Those all get the reduced cost from Jukai Naturalists. So there's going to be a lot of times with this deck where you're going to have Naturalists and be holding like Royal Treatments or Safekeepings, maybe have a Spellbook Vendor, maybe have a Lookout, and Naturalist isn't going to do anything. Like, it's just going to be a 2/2 lifelinker. that doesn't do much, right? So that's the stuff you got to think about it when you're talking about like consistency, is when you start branching off into other ideas within a deck list, you have to start reevaluating what cards are worth keeping as you make that change. You know what I mean? So it becomes a bit of a tough thing on figuring that out. But I would kind of take this back to the drawing board and decide what you want the deck to do, right? If you're trying to make it more about auras, then go hard on the auras. Like the fact that you're playing Archon and not even playing Audacity is kind of surprising, right? Because that's also an aura that can also help you draw cards, easy to cast, and it just feeds the rest of the deck, right? And allows you to be more aggressive if you need to be. So I would go back, think about a few of those things, because I think there's some opportunity to fix up the list and go that other direction. But yeah, focus, that's a good word. Focus is probably the biggest issue. And honestly, don't get me wrong, I'm guilty of it too, because I'm always like spitballing ideas. And even when I start working on an idea, a lot of times I'll just put like 30 cards into a deck list and then start deciding, okay, which of these work the best together? How many do I want? Do I want 4 or 3? Or is this a one of because it's more expensive or whatever? And it takes a long time sometimes to trim down a focus list. It's not automatic. So don't feel bad. This is like, I get what you're trying to do, but you kind of have to decide like how far do you want to go into the new idea is what I would do. If you're on Twitch, you can just post a link to your deck list wherever it is. If you are on YouTube, you have to click the Discord link and post in the standard section, and then let me know that you posted. But we probably won't get to everybody, so I'm just letting you know. But again, if you want to do that, if you post in the standard section regularly, we do have a good group. The Dragon Brood helps people out every single day. If you want to send something directly to me, I do have a YouTube membership level that gets you a document that goes straight to me, and you can get personalized help. All right. So we already had somebody else in the Discord. So that's going to be Rapid Fire Geek was next up, I believe. So we're going to go ahead and snag that one and see what we got. I'm going to try to be quick and get through as many as I can, but we'll see what happens. Is this another green-white list? Or did I not copy the right thing? Nope, it is. It's another green-white list. Okay, cool. Just wanted to make sure I didn't just copy the same deck list again. Also, welcome all of you new viewers. Much appreciated. We're just going over some deck lists with people and trying to have some fun and help some people out today. All right. Here's what we got going on. We have Ambitious Farmhand. Okay, so we're doing a token type deck. If we're doing tokens, there's actually something I already see it's a little bit of an issue here, is we're already kind of, okay, we're at 60 cards. We've got, what's this, 6, 10, 14, 15, 23, 24. Oh, that's a lot on the top end here, though. This, I mean, this is tough. This is tough. I would not be playing Eternal Wanderer in this list. This is not an Eternal Wanderer deck. This deck wants to be faster than Eternal Wanderer is, generally speaking, right? If you're going to be making other tokens, you could do it with other things. I'm not as big a fan of Farmhand in this list. I'm also not really a fan of Myrel in this list because there's a lot of things that aren't soldiers, because I believe this just makes humans. This does make a soldier, oddly. Mondrak just copies whatever. Join the Dance just makes humans. Adeline makes a human and is a knight. Neither of those is a soldier. So yeah, I don't know if I would do that. I like things like Lunarch Veteran, I believe it is. Yeah, this guy just creatures come into play, you gain some life. I like that, especially with mono red running around. I like stuff like our friend King Darien Extra Large the Eighth. Big fan of that card for something like this because it just pumps all your tokens and can save your tokens from some sweepers. So I play that, and it also brings your costs of your mana cost down a bit because you're talking about 1 and 3 mana things versus 4 mana things. Also a 6 mana thing. You can cut that out. I may even consider, instead of playing Nissa, which may be hard for you to cast in some cases, to possibly just play Rabble Rousing if you're going to have a bunch of tokens, right? Because at that point, you can just start turning 1 and 2 tokens into more triggers, which could be just as good. And that might be better for you. I don't hate Elspeth in these lists. I think it's fine. I think you want to max Wandering Emperor first because you don't have really removal. You're pretty much all creatures. So being able to play the Wandering Emperor is more important than being able to play Elspeth in most cases. Other than that, probably most of the changes I would make. I like I said, my rail's not bad, but I think my rail could be a little weak compared to other things you could be playing and help your deck out a little bit. I think you could also cut farmhand by doing that because you're also cutting down. Like, this is what it would look like if I do it. Let me just cut some things real quick. Let me cut out the Myrel. I might leave one Elspeth just for sport. Add a join the dance, cut these, play like 3 of those, maybe play Lunarch Veteran. Oop, it helps if I spell it correctly. 4 Veteran, that still leaves us a couple of spots. What if we said Rabble Rousing? We can spend spots on 2 of those. Maybe go up on Virtue because those make tokens and can pump your team. And that's probably more solid. I may even skimp back on either one of these potentially as well. Because the problem is, like, the queen gets very large, but the queen doesn't really do anything. I like making more tokens is nice, but generally the queen isn't great. This is also a list that could use uh maybe bunny corns if you want to go that way, if you were missing some of these other cards. I think that could be justifiable. But something like this is probably what I would be more likely to play, like 4 Veteran, Enforcements, Join the Dance, Adeline, Wedding Announcement, King Darien, Extra Large the 8th, Queen all in all, 1 Elspeth, 3 Mondrak, 2 Wandering Emperor. Actually, I probably even want to. Actually, nah, I'd rather just have the 3rd Wandering Emperor. And then 2 Rabble Rousing and 4 Virtue. That's probably where I'd go. If you're missing any of the other rares, probably try playing Bunny Corn and just have a big body. I think that'd probably be easier. Just make it more consistent. We shrunk the casting costs down a little bit, make it a little bit easier to cast things more consistently. And you probably don't need as many. Honestly, again, if you have them, just play more multi-lands. Radiant Grove, we don't want because it always comes into play tapped. You want things that aren't going to be into play tapped as often. You don't need as many forests because you really only have 9 green cards. So, I mean, I'd more consistently want more plains. I mean, that's 14 things that can make green, for 9 green cards. And realistically, 2 of these you don't even need until turn 3 or 4 once you've already trying to protect some creatures or whatever. So, yeah, this is probably fine. I would do something closer to this if I were going to do it. All right, let me off this and see what we got next. All right, let's see what we got. Who's next? Did that? I've got Nerd Plays Magic next. Let's see what we got here. Now I'm just kind of going through the list of what's in Discord here in the standard section. So let's see what's up. Double checking. I didn't see anybody post anything on Twitch. Oh, not true. I see Sky posted. So we'll get Sky here in a second. I'm gonna bring this up. All right, we'll get Sky next. So I'm taking care of people on Twitch as well. We'll get a Twitch one here in just a sec. All right. But for now, let me bring up this other list. Mono black this time. All right, let's see what we got. I mean, this is mostly just a mono black deck. There's not a lot to say about this one. I don't know if Soul Cauldron really does much here, unless we're trying to turn. Well, no, even this isn't even a activated ability. So Yeah, I'd cut Soul Cauldron and play something else. uh, yeah, this is just a bunch of kill spells and maybe cut Soul Cauldron, play another Liliana. Eh, I mean, what I'm not sure what you need help with here. Like, this is just play your variety of black kill spells and try to kill them with Corrupt or Shieldred or Planeswalker. Right? That's kind of standard fare. Not really sure what to do with this otherwise. This is one of those ones where, like, I tell you, like, if you're posting for help and it's something quirky, it's kind of more interesting. If you're just playing normal stuff, it's just kind of like, eh. Like, Gravelighter's fine. I don't know if you need Gravelighter. You probably could have just another aggressive card there. It could be like the Trespasser. I mean, you already have all the other removal. You've got Cut Down, you've got Life to Shiro, which kills small things, you've got Shieldred's Edict, you have Liliana, which you could play another one of those if you cut the Cauldron. Enrica technically can make your opponent sacrifice a thing too. You have the Inn, you have Great Gix's Command. Like, what's even the point of playing the Gravelighter? Like, I'm seriously looking at this and going, like, Gravelighter doesn't do anything. Like, your opponent probably doesn't even have anything on the battlefield. Like, if your opponent has anything on the battlefield after all that, you're probably just dying. Like, seriously. Like, just cut the Gravelighters, cut the Soul Cauldron, play another Liliana, play some Trespassers so you can just attack and finish your opponent sooner. Because this is just leaving your opponent around forever to eventually do something. Till maybe you kill them with the Corrupt. Or hopefully they have something big enough in the yard that's worth getting with the Virtue. But honestly, these I'm gonna be real with y'all. These are the kind of decks that are kind of boring. They don't really do anything. You're just like try to kill things, and when your opponent's strategy becomes a bunch of enchantments or artifacts, you just die. I mean, it just is what it is. But yeah, there's really not much to say about that one. It's just you're playing a bunch of kill spells. Thumbs up, I guess. Not trying to be rude. That's not even fun to deck doctor. It's just, hey, look, I'm killing a bunch of things. And here's the thing, and not to take a shot at the person who posted that, but that feels more like you just wanted to show off your deck. That's not really what we're doing right now, you know? Okay. Let's take a look. Let's see. This one. Let me copy this. This is another Selesnya enchantments list. Let's see. No, that's one we already had. Let me go back in and grab that other list off because I'm like, wait a minute. Here we go. This one's different. This is a human stack. All right. Let me grab this. We will copy and bring that over. All right. Cool. Oh, this is 5-color humans. Okay. We've done this a few times on the channel. Let's see what we got. Oh, Skrelv. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. What are we doing? Okay, first things first, we have to figure out, okay, this one needs a whole overhaul. Because we got to figure out what we want this deck to do. Because this is like trying to be aggressive with humans, but then playing non-aggressive humans. Like, we at least have some stuff we could do with Soul Cauldron between, like, Catilda, Rona. I mean, do we have anything? I mean, I guess we could counter some stuff with this, so that's not terrible. Yeah, this is like trying to be the aggro humans deck, but also trying to be the combo deck. Queen, by the way, Queen Kayla, I have had zero luck with this card. Y'all have no idea. I've tried probably 8 or 9 different decks where I've tried playing this card, and it just does not work for me. In theory, it could be very good, but I think just the way standard is, you either have already expended so many resources, you don't have much in your hand to begin with, or this just doesn't live long enough to do anything significant. And there's a lot of times that if this was just a better thing, you could just be winning on the next turn instead of trying to activate it. You know what I mean? So I'm not even a fan of this card at all, really. Like, even within this list, there's just more copies of other things we could have that would be better. But yeah, this is a tough one. I can't really give enough feedback here because this is a list that's like you have Wrath in here without even having really instants or sorceries, right? Like you can have everything get +1/+1, but are you really going to want to spend 5 mana for that? You could just play more Catildas and then just tap things, and then your stuff just gets +1/+1 permanently. Like you don't even need Wrath, right? So yeah, there's a lot of things. I think this is a case where this deck just needs focus. We have to decide: are we trying to be the aggressive humans deck, or are we trying to be the combo deck? Trying to do both, sadly, more often than not, is going to leave you drawing the wrong pieces at the wrong time. Like, for instance, let's say you get training grounds, but you drew like Coppercoat, Thalia, Rona, Jarena, right? So now you have just like a combination of cards that don't really go together. And like, Agatha's cool, but we're really kind of forcing the red in here just to have the veteran have Agatha, right? Could we be better off without that if we weren't trying to do these combo-y like things with Agatha Soul Cauldron? And then this is, I don't know, like this feels like a lot to try. And we're not really getting reduction because this has to be colored mana. So like Training Grounds doesn't help this, Agatha doesn't help this because it's just reducing colorless costs. So like this is just, you need to straight up have the mana anyway. So like, yeah, there's just a lot going on here. I would go back and decide, are you trying to be like the 5-color humans deck? Are you trying to be the aggro deck? Are you trying to be the combo deck? Are you trying to be the legends deck, right? There's kind of 4 ways you can still go from here, really. But this is like a little bit of everything and a whole lot of none of them. Like even here, whether you should play bodyguard or whether you could play the 3-color one, the legend one that does the same thing, removes a creature or whatever, right? Depends, because that also depends on how many like Plaza of Heroes or Secluded Courtyards you want to play. Because here, I'm assuming you would want to call Courtyard for probably humans, but Werefox is also not a human and it needs double white. So that type of stuff is also going to cause some inconsistency, right? Because if you have Courtyard on human, Plaza of Heroes, Copperline Gorge, right? You can't cast something, right? So like that's going to be a problem at times. So you got to figure things like that and figure that out. But yeah, focus I think is going to be the message of the day today, because that seems to be a thing for several of the decks. All right, let me see where we're at here. I'm going to tell you, if you're in Twitch, you're probably not submitting anymore because we won't get to them. So if you're not already in, we probably won't get to them. Just letting you know. Same thing, if you're not already in the Discord in order, you're probably not going to get in. So I'm going to grab the next one from the Discord here. And we will take a look. Let's see what we got. Bring this up. Let's see what we found. All right. What do we got here? We've got a cut down, commandos, reinforcement. Reinforcements is a lot of y'all's list. Y'all seem to love this card today. Negate, Zephyr Sentinel. Yeah, again, I'm not sure. Okay, we're trying to do a flash deck. I see. Got it. I guess. Like Cemetery Protector is just not great, to be honest. You could just be playing something better. I would rather play more Masterminds, more Make Disappears than playing the Protector. It's just not going to be as good as often. Obviously, if you have the cards, a full set of Virtual Loyalty is just going to be better. So you have some early plays. Because that's kind of the issue right here now. I mean, you're kind of hoping you get to counter something early for the most part, because your early plays aren't doing a whole lot in this list. Definitely would want to play more Steel Seraphs. I don't know if March of the Otherworldly Light is the removal I want. Like, it's not bad, but I'm just trying to think of situations where you're going to want to spend that extra mana other than have it just be something that outright removes something. because as it's built now, this isn't the fastest deck, and you're already trying to leave mana open for all these counters, for Urtai, for flashing stuff in when you have an Aaron and Giada out with stuff on your library. So I just don't know if I want that to be the card, but it's not bad. It's not bad. But I always feel like when I'm playing black, like, okay, what am I really needing the March of Otherworldly Light for? I mean, to get rid of enchantments, I suppose. But you can also just exile them with other cards that you have access to. I'm not a big fan of Zephyr Sentinel here. I'm trying to figure out what I would be doing with this. Like, I could save something, but I'm already flashing stuff in during my opponent's instep, and I'm already playing negates and make disappears. Generally, Zephyr is going to be better in lists where you're playing creatures on your turn and then passing, right? And then they try to kill it or do something, and then you flash in the Zephyr, whatever. But if you're already just using your mana to flashing in during their instep, I just don't know that many spots where you're really going to want the Zephyr Sentinel. And again, not a trash card. Just saying that doesn't really do a lot the way this deck is built. But yeah, generally, I would say replace Zephyr Sentinels probably with just straight up Fairy Masterminds. Cut the Protector. Trying to figure out what else I would want to maximize in this list. More Virtual Loyalties, more Steel Seraph. Stuff like that, I think, would make this a lot better for consistency help. Obviously, if you have the cards, you want to play the right lands, max those out a little bit if you can. But realistically, I don't even think this deck list needs black. I mean, truthfully. I mean, you can already remove all the stuff you need with white with all the various ways. You could just maximize these other white and blue cards by just doing that and make your mana cleaner. Because, I mean, don't be wrong, Gopher Throat and Cut Down are nice cards. Not mad at it. Like, Urtai's cool, but you already have a lot of ways you can kill stuff anyway, and you could probably play more Angels or something and get that synergy that also works with Aaron and Giada. And you can also play things with flying off the top of your library, so there's other things you can consider in those colors too. So, yeah, I just don't know if you need it. Now, I'm just looking at it now and saying, like, while I do like the black removal, I think it's just coming at a price you don't need with having like weird mana draws where maybe you get 2 of the tap lands early and maybe you can't counter something or whatever. Like, you just don't have to do that to yourself, really. There's just not a need for what you're getting out of it. So yeah, that's probably what I would do. Swap those other cards out, find some other Angels that fit, just go that route. I think it's going to be a lot cleaner. And having more flyers is not going to be bad for you anyway. Yeah. And then, white has a ton of removal. You can just take your pick of 6 to 8 removal cards and fit them in here. And you're already playing stuff like Wandering Emperor and all that, so that already helps too. But yeah, that's where I'm at on that. All right. If you weren't already in the queue, you're at this point, if you're adding yourself to either of the queues, you're probably not going to get in. We're probably not going to have enough time. So if you want to do this regularly, you're always welcome to post in the standard section of my Discord. Everybody's always in there helping each other with decks. Or you could join my YouTube members and my third tier. I have a form that sends stuff directly to me, and you can get personalized help via email. So that's the other way, is if you're late to the party and can't get in there. Let's go snag another one from the Twitch group of folks. So this looks like it's going to be Casey Black on this one. Oh, it says page not found on your deck list, Casey. I don't know what that means. Oh, maybe because it's probably trying to copy the... Oh, yeah, I got it. It's trying to copy the quotation marks, I think. And it's not working. Yeah, I think that's the issue. Maybe? Let's try. Doesn't look like that worked either. Let me try again. I'll give it one more go. I thought I had it solved. Nope, looks like we don't. It is not working. So I'm gonna have to move to the next person on Twitch. Oh, nope, there it is. Casey has the corrected one below it. Nope, still I click on it, says not found. Yeah, not sure what to do with that. We have to move forward. Oh, did we get it on this one? Nope. We didn't get it on that one either. All right. Well, we're going to Maisie to Brazy is going to get the next one here. We're going to copy this, bring it in, and let's see what we got. Gruul stuff. I'm not mad at this. Y'all know I'm a big fan of playing these on the arena ladder. All right, let's see what we got here. We have Commando Face Kakazan, Swift Spear, Monstrous Rage, Torch the Tower. I have a version of this already that I play. Okay. Wait. All right, let's have a talk, chat. Real talk. If you're playing creature decks, you really don't have a need for sweepers. It's just going to be dead more often than not. Like, are there times that some of your stuff will be killed and your opponent has a couple of creatures and you don't, and you draw it? Yes, those times will exist. But most of the time, you are just not going to want to cast this card. It's usually going to do equal damage or worse to you than your opponent. And especially when you're playing some type of low to the ground Gruul aggro, these could just be more burn spells, right? These could go upstairs and hit your opponent. These could take out a blocker. This could allow you to trample past something with a monstrous rage, whatever, right? It could be a bunch of different things. But there's no reason to play Brotherhoods in. There's just not. I'm not even sure I'd play Invasion of Ragatha here until I max out my other good cards, like Swift Spear, Monstrous Rage. We're playing Torch the Tower without really anything to sacrifice to deal 3. So at that point, these might as well just be more lightning strikes and play with fires. Like, there's really not a need. Hey, thanks for the 7-month sub there. Much appreciated. Return from the Wilds does nothing for this list. Like, this should be another aggressive card. Like, this is another one of those cases where while a card is good, just doesn't go in this list. Like, your goal is to play things small and fast and deal as much damage as possible. Anytime you draw a Return from the Wilds, it's probably going to feel bad. Right? The best case scenario for this would be somehow on turn 3, you have a Swift Spear attacking with a Commando Faces Kakazan, and you get to give Swift Spear +1/+1 when you do this and make a body. Right? That's just not good enough. It's just simply not. Samut, I don't hate here. I kind of like it. Invasion of Ragatha, while it is 4 damage, yeah, Titanic Growth is cool, but again, I mean, I guess if you have something already with trampling, I'm kind of into it, but I mean, the other thing too is I feel like there's already versions of this list going. Like Dolphin's not good. Mostly again here, it doesn't support your Samut because it doesn't have haste. Like, it's gonna be slower than other things. Are you even gonna have cards to discard to it to make it indestructible? Probably not, because that's not the goal of this deck. I mean, it's cool that you could deal double damage, but that's also with non-combat. So it's like, if we want to redo the whole deck and make it about Dolphum, and you want to play 2 or 3 of these, and you want to play more burn spells and more of the other Invasion of Ragatha or whatever, cool. I think as the deck's built, this doesn't have a home. Same thing with Invasion of Zendikar. Doesn't have a home. Like, you don't want to be taking a turn off to go find 2 land. Like, 2 land isn't helping this deck do anything. Yeah, same thing. Like, and again, this is a case of where none of these cards, well, Rampaging Geoderm's not great, but generally speaking, these cards are not bad. We're talking about Invasion of Zendikar, Virtue of Courage, Luca, Chandra, Kogla. The problem, though, is this deck's not built to support those, right? You're just not. You're not ramping into these things. You like, no draws really want you to have like an early Commando and Swift Spear, maybe a Lightning Strike, a Samut, some number of lands, and Kogla, right? That's basically mulliganing to 6 because you're almost never gonna hit that. If you do, the game's already gone really long, and that's probably not to your advantage in a lot of cases, but possible. But again, if these are just burn spells and whatnot, that's probably just better for you. I would maximize play with fires, lightning strikes, maybe some number of adversaries. I mean, Invasion of Ragatha's not bad, but I'm not in love with it. Another Samet probably works. Luca, yeah, Luca's not really helping us do anything. Like Luca's only kind of good if you keep Kogla, but that's really the only thing you're ramping to, right? Because I mean, Luca's making 3/3s, which I guess is fine, but generally speaking, it's not really the type of card you're looking for. Like this deck would rather have, if you're going to play a Planeswalker, realistically, you're probably better off playing Arlen and then playing like either another Raptor or two like Thundering Raiju, maybe. I mean, would probably be my choices. Just be able to do more damage. But even then, I don't know, maybe I want to play more of these just so I can hit creatures more often in the mirror, especially. But yeah, this feels much tighter and more consistent than where you're at. 36 or only 7 green spells. Yeah, with only 7 green spells, I just, if you have them, obviously budget permitting, I would just play more multi-lands and cut the forest. Because this is going to lead to too many draws where you have like 2 forests and a mountain and you're going to be able to cast one thing at a time. So max as many of these things as you can and eliminate a forest for every one of those you put into the list. Though these come into play tapped and you probably don't want those. Like, you'd rather it look like this. Something like that is probably closer to what you want. But yeah, that's probably what I would do. And just be faster, lower to the ground, able to do more damage, have haste creatures late game. If you don't have Arlens and stuff, you can also consider like Shivan Devastator. That's a quality card to have late. Something like this, I think works fine. There's a lot of versions of this deck out there, though. I also have one in the queue for a couple of days down the road to do a video on. But yeah, it's all about consistently being low, being fast, doing big piles of damage. This is closer to where you want to be if you want to play this type of deck. Yeah, Squee is acceptable too. I think that's a fine card you can include in these lists. Yeah, there's a lot of them, a lot of other ways you can go, but you want to definitely trim down the cost in this list. All right, that was somebody from Twitch, so we're gonna hop back over to the Discord and see who's next in line. Let's grab this. This is for Notorious Wolf. So whoever in the chat this is, we're gonna bring that up and see what we got. All right, looks like another white, blue, black deck. Oh wait, no, we just did this one. All right, yeah. Never mind. We did Notorious Wolf already. Rapid Fire Geek is the next one up. Okay, cool. Let me grab this list then. And then I will remove this list. Man, I'm always running out of like deck slots. I wish Wizard would just let me pay like, I don't know, some amount of money to buy like 50 more slots. They would totally get that money out of me in a heartbeat. All right. This is, no, we looked at that one too. Are y'all just reposting this stuff in the chat again? Because I'm going in order of what's on there. But we've definitely looked at both of those. All right, let's take a look at this one then. All right. This is a black-white list that is a Lifegain list. I thought I just did a Lifegain list the other day. This one's a bit different, though. All right. Dread Fugue. Meh. I mean, it's okay. I'm not sold on this card. I always feel like I'm playing Dread Fugue. I should either be playing just Duress, so there's like no limitations really, or be playing something like Battle of Gobakan, just so I can slow a card down and then possibly find a way to protect my creatures, right? Not Dead After All. I'm not sure what we're doing with that. I mean, saving a thing, I guess, but I mean, return triumphants for something 3 or less. I'm assuming just mostly for the voice of the blessed is what we want. Uh if anything, I would say the issue here is it's probably too defensive without a chance to really get aggressive because this doesn't really do much because if you attack alone with a samurai or a warrior, which is mostly this and the samurai itself, it can protect something else, but you're rarely going to want to run the samurai into combat. Like, I would start by looking at other life linkers and stuff because I think there's just better options. Like, Phyrexian Missionary would just be way better, right? And then you can even cut out stuff like Not Dead After All because if the thing goes to the graveyard, then great, you can get it back with this, right? Whereas now you don't have a dead card in hand. If you have to, you can just play this aggressively or just use it to block against mono red or whatever the case may be, right? It just does more. And this is an uncommon. So this is a much better card to have than that. Kind of the same thing with Selfless Samurai. Like we can just find something better. Like Intrepid Adversaries. If you want to gain life, this can also pump some of your creatures. You could maximize Lunarch Veteran, which is only at 3 right now, and it's a common. So go ahead and play a 4th one of those. Keep Again Reckoner is fine. That drains your opponent for life. I get what we're doing with that. Like I said, Dreadfeud, personal choice. I'm not going to tell you not to play it. It just doesn't work out for me as often as I would like, but that's totally fine. Return Triumphants, it's fine, but again, it's a sorcery speed spell. Like it's possibly going to do nothing in your hand early. Not great against mono red. Um, you could also go with any of the token maker things, whether you're talking about reinforcements or wedding announcement or whatever, so you get more consistent triggers from things coming into play. You could even play Vran, and this could gain you life whenever something dies, so that could contribute to your plan of what you're doing. Yeah, there's a few things. Like Touch the Spirit Realm's fine, but again, we're trying to put in another defensive card, whereas we could just play a thing that kills a thing or just outright removes a thing. Like I get it. There's a part where you could save a creature and that's all fine and good, but at some point, just being defensive is not going to get you where you want to go. I would rather. Hmm. Let me just mess around with this list for a second. Like, if I were to do this, what would I make it look like? I would probably play some number. Let's see, you can cut one of those. Play some number of Go for the Throats, some number of Shieldred's Edicts. Probably play the Steel Seraph, since that also can gain life, and it's a good mid and late game card. Probably only need 3. Where can I squeeze some more room here? Akiba Gang Reckoner Reg. Are you good enough to hold your spots? That is a question. Because the problem is, once it becomes a 2/2, it doesn't really do much for this deck. But this at least actually can kill something. The problem is, though, this mostly only kills, like, some type of token creatures, right? It doesn't kill anything in mono red. Like, it does let you gain 2 life twice, which is not nothing against the red decks. So it has some extra value. But yeah, I'm not sure on the raid. I would rather play the other life linker. We were just talking about this thing. And maybe this is a little closer to what I'd want to do. I feel like it still needs one more thing. I don't know what the one more is, but like feels like it needs just something else. Well, like I said, Vran also is an option. What do we got? 13, 2, 4, 6, 8. We're playing 21 lands. Is that right? 13 and 8? Yeah, that's 21. That is not nearly enough. Especially because in this deck, you're going to want to be doing multiple things in a turn. Let's see. We have Destroy Evil, Go for the Throat, Shieldred's Edicts, Gumdrop Poisoners. I might get some more land in here. Mm, Restless Fortress, probably. Cut the Scour Baron. I know you gain life when it comes into play, but it is slow. 4. So I got 10. You got 23. That feels a little bit better. And can play Vran as the last card, maybe. All right, something like this. I probably have to play around with it to figure out what the right numbers are and what I want it to be. But this at least feels a little bit better. Or honestly, even if you want to play Vran, you could justify playing like, oh, what's his name? Sorin in here as well, because Zorin at least makes you a creature that has lifelink. And this is good to have like some option against the control decks or whatever that they have a harder time removing. So like maybe something like this. This is probably better. And this feels just way more focused. Other than like, hey, here's some random things that gain life and some things that try to protect my creatures or whatever. This allows you to still be like, okay, we're gaining life, we're attacking, we're growing this Voice of the Blessed. All right, now it flies, we're doing this thing. Now you got to deal with Shieldred. All right, we gain some life, we have Gumdrop Poisoner, we can kill some stuff. Right? This feels a little bit better, I think. This is where I would go with this one. Again, some of this is going to be dependent on what you have resource wise. I mean, that's always a little tough, but yeah, something along these lines would probably be better. All right, let me snag another one from Twitch over here. Let's see what our Twitch folks have. The next person in line would be Max. Did we do Max's already? Let's see. No, I don't think we did Max's list. All right, let's take a look at this. Export to Arena. Oop, not that. That's not what I want to do. All right, here we go. Let's import. All right, let's take a look at this. By the way, y'all been very active today. Much appreciated. It always makes for a better chat when I can interact with everybody. Okay, this one is probably going to take a little work. What do we got? We have Hopeless Nightmare, Corrupt Quarterfish. Oh no, this is just a discard deck. All right, cool. Invasion of Eldraine, you just don't really need. I tried playing this for a minute. It didn't really feel like it did much. I mean, the backside is super easy to kill with damn near everything. And usually they didn't have that many cards left in hand anyway when this came out, so I wouldn't worry about that so much. Kind of same here, because you can just have direct kill spells. And if you've done your job emptying their hand, I mean, but if we're going to play one, this is fine. Like being able to remove their stuff from the graveyard to get stuff, but I just don't think it's necessary. I would maximize the Invasion of Amonkhet before those. I think that's just better. Obviously, if you have the resources, you want more Shieldreds. I know everybody hates the card, but the card's just good. Katose, like I'm always less than impressed. I'm down on this card a lot. I know some people like playing it, but for the cost, I just feel like I never get anything out of this. I would rather just play a Planeswalker in this spot. Whether you're talking about Liliana or Shieldred, or not Shieldred, Sorin, maybe Ashiok, just so you can keep drawing more cards. But yeah, Katose just not cutting it for me. I'd rather see Liliana on this list. Truthfully, like same thing. Dust Mangler, like okay, we don't have a way to trick this into play. Really, I mean, we can copy it with our Invasion of Amonkhet dude on the backside, but we can copy anything, right? So if we're gonna do that, why not just play the other Shieldred, which is easier to cast? Something like this, and then Virtue of Knowledge. I mean, I guess. I mean, like, I like. Here's the thing, and I'm trying not to be hypocritical because I play a channel where we play lots of weird cards as experiments and whatever. My problem with this doesn't feel like the card for what this deck is trying to do. Now, don't get me wrong. You have a lot of things that say when they enter the battlefield, this thing happens, right? But this isn't like a deck where, okay, I do this thing, I get to draw 2 cards, I'm making 2 counters, this triggers another thing that triggers, whatever, right? That's what this card is generally good for. Here, it's like, all right, I've played my Corrupt Corpse Official, I've played my Nezumi Informants, my opponents discarded their hand, I get to 5 mana, I play Virtue of Knowledge. Okay, then I draw Shieldred, and my opponent has to sacrifice a second thing, of which they probably only have 1 anyway, right? They have to discard 2 things, I guess, with Invasion of Amonkhet, and I get to draw a second card. Like, it's just I mean, I get what's going on. I just don't know if I like are there enough situations where you're gonna get to use the adventure half first off? Like, that's the first thing, right? Because we have to get to at least 4 mana at a stage of the game where something like Nezumi Informant's still good. That's like the first issue. Because you need to have 4 or 5 mana for this to really do anything. And then when you assuming you have the 4 or 5, I guess if you're trying to copy something on like Channeler, then when do I have 5 mana that I want to tap out to play this versus killing or making them discard another thing? I think that's my issues. Like, I'm trying to think about game flow with this deck, and I don't know how many spots there's going to be where A, I want to take the turn off to just play this and try to set something else up, or B, that this is going to have a significant impact when I get to that point versus this just being something else, whether that's other discard spells or this could be the other thing too, where your opponent has to, oh, what is that thing? The enchantment where they have to pay 5 life. This painful quandary. Like, this would probably be better than the virtue of knowledge in here. I think this is probably what I would do instead. Maybe not 4 of them. I might play like 2 of them. But something like this is probably better. Cuz like once their hand's empty, a bunch of the extra triggers don't do a whole lot in this list. So I'd probably play those and then like Liliana, obviously because it's more removal and can also be discarding stuff. And then now you have just a pile of discard stuff. You have way extra removal in the list because you don't have much outside of the Shieldreds and the Urtais for the most part. So that gives you that other option. And this is probably just better. Hey, Dr. J, welcome. So, like, this is probably more of what I would do. And don't get me wrong, like, I've been trying to find some fun lists to play the Blue Virtue, but I just haven't found one that I really like. Hey, Jane, I just haven't found one I really, really liked yet. Like, still working on it. I'm sure there's something out there to be competitive or whatever. Maybe it's waiting on a part or two from the next couple sets. Who knows? It's a cool card, but generally, I think you want to be getting a little bit more out of it than what this list was. Because while it did do something, I felt like you were making the list a little more inconsistent to try to justify the existence of that other card in the list. At least that's the way it felt. All right. Let's move on to the next one and let's see. That was from Twitch. So we're going to grab this one from the Discord. This is for the Oracle, whoever that is in the Discord. And we'll bring this up. Let's see what we got. But yeah, hopefully I'll have a list for that Blue Virtue at some point. I just don't have one yet. All right, let's see what we got here. We have some removal, discards and draw, wedding announcement, render inert. Oh, so we're just playing unless to try to take advantage of the battles here. Oh boy, playing Tyrant of Courageous. I mean, it does deal 4 damage. I mean, there's that. And Kaya's in here. Interesting. What are we trying to do with it? Okay. I have a few thoughts. First things first, if we're trying to play all of these and trying to get all these benefits off this, then we need to be playing more ways to remove counters from these battles. I don't think Tyrant's our answer. Invasion of Foria at least makes sense because that's like a sweeper for this deck or whatever. But more render inert seems mandatory. I mean, it's the only word I really have there. I don't know if AO the Dawn Sky is really what we want in this list. Like, because I'm trying to figure out, like, what do we really get with this most of the time? Like, we can go get a Wandering Emperor or a wedding announcement that really matters. Because, I mean, I don't think you want AO to die and then get an invasion of Mercadia. That doesn't, that doesn't feel like it's really doing much. So, like, that's meh. Like, I don't think that's really our target here. We also don't have a ton of removal, but Nahiri's Warcrafting works, Wandering Emperor works, so no complaints there. Honestly, this should just be playing the what's it called? The dragon invasion. Invasion of Tarkir. Because you could also use this to finish off one of these other ones if necessary. Though I think 5 is the max on any of these that you're playing, so maybe it doesn't really matter. I mean, I'd rather have this than this, because this is just drawing and discard to help you find a thing. Rarely is the backside going to live, but this is mostly probably trying to like get it to where you can flip some things and still give you a removal card, because that's what you're going to need early. Realistically, without a bunch of removal, that would probably be my real concern. So yeah, I'd probably swap those. I don't even know how much land we have room for here. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 18, 19, 20, 24. So that's on the lighter side, considering everything we really want to do is 3 plus. So you probably want to be at like 25 or 26 lands here. And yeah, this is just tough. This is just tough. Ugh. I almost feel like this strategy wants green. Honestly. Like, because green has the ones that can become creatures that can continue to keep fighting on your battles. You can ramp and get mana. You can find other cards you need, right? I don't know if this is the right strategy. The best case scenario is this, but like, what permanent are we even getting out of our graveyard? Like, maybe if we had the Raptor die, hopefully it doesn't get exiled because there's a billion things that exile right now. But assuming the Raptor dies, then it's like, cool, I guess we could play this, get Raptor, or Raptor can attack into it. That's probably like the best case scenario. But yeah, I mean, render inert helps, and you at least get a card off of that. But yeah, I feel like we have to cut some number. The other problem too is you don't have a lot of threats otherwise. So if your opponent has a removal card, it's gonna kill your one creature. I mean, this list only has 7. I mean, 8 if I leave the AO in here, right? So any go for the throat, any of the white creature removal, whatever, like they're all going to just be waiting for your one threat. Like that's kind of the other issue. I mean, there's options. Boy. Like, let's say we get rid of this. Let's play some number of these. Man. Kaya is also like a fine card, but I'm like, does Kaya help us turn this around when we get it? That's like the tough thing here. I almost feel like we need to just gamble on another invasion of Fiora. But what I'm trying to figure out now in my head is like, let's say we figure out how to beat the creature decks. Can this beat a control deck of any kind? And I don't know that answer because I'm not like, I mean, you do have Wandering Empress. It's not like you have nothing if they're playing like creature sweepers and stuff. But just like, how do we get across? I mean, I guess if you have the backside of Invasion of Tovada, you can just keep making 1/1s. It's like, that's a thing that are technically 2/1s. So I guess that could work. Um, what's the artifact that makes the treasure? Collector's Vault. Like, that's a thing. It's at least something to do early with the mana that can make it easier to cast some stuff and keep you from having to put so many lands in here, maybe. I'm just trying to figure out where we cut spots to do what we need to do. Because, like, we can't cut Invasion of Tovada because it's one of the few ways you can make threats. We can't cut the wedding announcement. Like, we could cut one render inert, but that's kind of against what the deck's trying to do, but we may just have to do it. You know what? I'm willing to gamble on cutting Kaya and just play another Invasion of Fiora. And maybe something like this is the end result. Oh, James was just talking about Collector's Vault. Well, there you go. Yeah, if you're going to do it in black, white, red, maybe this way can work. And this at least still has enough threats that I think we can get there. And you still have enough removal that I think you could buy time to make things happen. Because you do have to be able to kill some early stuff against mono red and mono white, or you just won't even have a chance. Like the Invasion of Fiora, you would never be able to cast. Now, with Collector's Vault, it's possible because you could just make treasure on a couple turns and on like turn 4, go for it. And that's possible. But yeah, this is probably where I would go with this. And this feels at least a lot cleaner. Mana, obviously, you have to experiment and figure out where things work. And because, I mean, a lot of white, a lot of red, not so much black. So you got to figure out what the best numbers are for those. You probably want the mana. Let's see, just spitballing here. Yeah, this would be a tough one too because you don't even want that many pain lands because this has no way to gain life. Either. Well, that's not true. You have Wandering Emperor, which has gained some, but that could be a little tough too. But yeah, something like this, probably closer. No, none of those other removal. Like, there's just not room for it to do what they're trying to do. Well, yeah, Kaya does, but you also have to survive to get to Kaya is the problem. Like that's why I cut it. Like there's too many times where you could get to Kaya and be low enough on life and your opponent's got like 3 creatures out. And you're like, okay, well, you kill one or make a token or whatever, and just doesn't do enough in the end. But yeah, something like this is probably where I would go. And start building from here. Figure out what's working, what's not. Swap cards in or out. Like it's a tough go. Well, sure, but then at that point, you're also saying you're all in on Kaya and nothing else because you discarded all your other stuff to allow you to play the Kaya. Like that's the problem. Like it's a neat idea, but like I said, it's hard to do. I think I made 1 or 2 battle lists when they first came out, and it was tough to play those. It was definitely a struggle. Okay. So that was from the Discord. We're gonna grab another one from Twitch. Who was next in line? Looks like we have Sky or Ski, SKEY08. Let's see what you got. Copy, import, and let's see what we got here. A red-white deck. All right, this could be interesting. At this point, if you submit, we're probably not going to get to it. We're already going to be in overtime, so whatever's in there is in there. Not sure we're going to get to much else at this point. All right, so we have Ancestral Anger, Play with Fire, Vindictive Soul. You know what? I remember when this card came out, and so many people were talking about this card's so good, and everybody should be playing this and being able to get more cards. I'm like, it's just too slow. Like, I'm actually never bothered when my opponent plays this card. Like, literally 100%, almost happy my opponent plays this card. Because it means this thing's not going to do much. It's usually just going to sit there because it's a 1/2. And they want to get the value out of it when it gets close. So it almost never puts itself at risk. And then you can kill it oftentimes before they even get the cards from it. It just doesn't do much, really. I'm not a fan of it. However, we will see what the rest of the list is, and maybe it makes sense. Heartflame Duelist I like. Lightning Strike, obviously. Reckless Impulse, Rin's Resolve. Keldon Flame Sage. I forget about this card, actually. Look at top X cards where it's this card's power. You can exile an instant or sorcery with mana value X or less among them. Put the rest on the bottom. You can cast that card without paying its mana cost. That's cool. Grim Careless lets you deal an extra point. Or Brass can get you some extra cards. Man, Quintorius also. This is a card just never worked for me. I tried this thing probably 6 or 7 times, and it was always the card I cut from my list. And I think it's just because of the cost. I feel like at 5 mana, you can almost just do things that can get there easier, right? Like you could play this, or you could play like AO the Dawn Sky, which just has way more value, right? It's a 5-power flyer. It's hard to block. If it dies, you get more value. Like, it just doesn't get there usually. And Hearth Elemental. This is probably fine. You're playing a lot of instants and sorceries. Actually, how many are we playing? 18. So 8 instants, 10 sorceries. All right. Yeah, I'm just not feeling Soul Stoker or Flame Stoker. This is just, I don't know. Like, I want to be more lenient on this card. It's just hard. I can't. Like, this card just never does anything for me. It sucks because you don't have a lot to play early, so it kind of is filling that gap a little bit just to play something. But I mean, I'd rather just have Commando Faces Kakazan over this. You know? I think there's too many of these. Because I think, especially in current standard, especially if you're playing on the ladder now, like you're just going to have to be spending too many turns. Like you're looking for cards you have to play. And I don't think you want to draw these back to back. Plus, you're playing Hearthflame Duelist that already gives you an option of playing another thing on a turn. So, like, I'd cut some number of those. This is the tough one. Because in theory, it could do some neat things. But the other part of it is you pretty much have to put it at risk to have it do its thing one time. And that's the downside with this. And I don't know a way to make that better for you because you need this to survive. Or else you're literally just like one trick ponying this card and then doing nothing. A matter of fact, actually, there's a bigger issue here. Is you don't have anything of quality you're playing before this. So you don't even have it. Like if you get this on 3, you may not. Well, one, it has to survive because it might be your only creature. And then you have nothing to enlist with it because you can't enlist with the summoning set creature that you play the next turn. So the biggest thing, whatever this list plays, needs to be 4 of something that costs 1 or 2 mana. Like, that would be my bigger issue. I would trim some of these things down. Quintorius, kick rocks. And I don't know. Maybe that has to be some number of Swift Spears. I mean, like, I don't know. But, like, something. Because you can't have the Flame Sage just be by itself. Like, that's not good enough. Like, at best, you would maybe have a Lightning Strike on top that you could get rid of a blocker that would block it otherwise. But even then, you're just wasting a card to get rid of a blocker, so you're attacking for 2. Right? That's not that exciting, really. You want to be doing something more with it, I think. Rim Careless, I think, is fine for what the deck's trying to do. But really, the funny thing is, I mean, I guess so, because Hearthflame Duelist does have, like, the burn side to it. So that's fine. Maybe another one, because it is a 2/3, which matters. But yeah, it needs to be a 1 or 2 mana thing with those last 5 slots. Yeah, electrostatic infantry. I could be talked into that. That makes a lot of sense. Like, I don't have a problem with that being in the list. And it's an uncommon, I think, too. Like, that gives you something, and now you have one more spot. We also upped the number of creatures there. So now you're at 19 instead of 18 creatures, which is nice. And can it still be one more thing? One more creature if you wanted it to be, too. Oh, that's not true. I forgot. You have Virtue of Courage in here, so that's another burn spell. Though it doesn't really go to the graveyard, so it doesn't help your Hearth Elemental, but same difference. Um, could be a Planeswalker in this last spot. Yeah, I thought about Pia, but Pia doesn't like really. We have a couple of. The problem is like Virtue doesn't get cast till late, so you can't really count that for Pia. You'd probably be trying to lean on like Hearth Elemental, Hearthflame Duelist, and whatever you get off the Rin's Resolve to help. But I don't mind just playing it even as a 1 or a 2 of. I think we could live with that. So that's 12, 16. Ooh, is this only 20 lands? Bruh. I'm a lot less excited now. Now, okay. There is a way we can get away with this. If you want to play 20, 21 lands, but you got to get rid of Urabrask. Because the reality is here, we got to play stuff that's a lot. We got to play as low cost as possible to pull that off. This is where you probably do want to go with Pia, because I believe Pia is only 2. Yeah. So that could help. And then you could even play an additional land if you wanted to. Man, I'm becoming less and less excited with the Flame Sage here, but it's whatever, I guess. Um, yeah. I get it what we're doing. The Flame Sage is probably like the weakest card in here. I'm not gonna say take it out because I get it. We're trying to do some new things with some pet cards and stuff, but it's probably the weakest thing in the deck. I mean, because more often than not, it's gonna be a worse top deck than like the red Vampire Adversary. It's gonna be worse than almost any of the other haste things you could draw. Like, it's not gonna be as good on his own as any of the prowess things would probably be in here. So like we're playing it for the gimmick. Like I'm willing to accept that. We're playing it for the gimmick, and I'm here for it. And then probably just add another land here, and that'll clean things up. So yeah, this is at least closer. This is at least a lot better. Now you have better early creatures. You have threats they have to deal with like the infantry and stuff because that gets out of hand pretty easily. You could get crafty, and if you wanted to, even play some number of the what is that game thing is? It's the it's a sorcery, gives you lifelink, vigilance, like all the things. This thing, Angel Fire Ignition. I wanted to call it something completely different that I knew wasn't right. But yeah, you could play some number of these too. If you don't have some of these other cards, play like 2 copies of that. Like this is totally fine. And I think that would work too. So yeah, definitely options that I think are better for you. Okay. That one was from Twitch. Let's hop back over to Discord and grab another from the YouTube crew. Who's this from? Gotta figure out where we're at here. We did that. We did that. Let's see. We looked at that one. This one is from Night Sky, I believe. So let's take a look at this. All right. Let's see what we got. Blue and white. I was gonna say if this is like a control deck, I'm done. Like end of the stream. No, I'm just kidding. All right. Oh man, nope. I'm just gonna tell you, I'm gonna save you the trouble right now. This is just not it. I know everybody wants to see a Hilda deck. I'm just not even gonna waste time on stream. I have like 10 versions of this. I haven't even made it to play it with it because it's just not viable. It's just not. And in the time you run into something that's like a mid-rangey deck or a control deck, it literally does nothing because all your stuff needs to be tapping creatures. So if they've got a bunch of enchantments or artifacts, or they're just like playing control stuff with planeswalkers or whatever, like you're like praying they make tokens with their planeswalkers so you can do something. But most of the time the deck just doesn't do enough. Or if they deal with like your one or two significant cards, it doesn't do much either, right? If they get rid of your like 4 mana duders, it's just nightmarish for this the rest of the way. Like I want this to be better, and like I have no doubt that if I could find a thing that was even decent to play in this version of the deck, it would get a ton of views because everybody wants to see this deck. But like it's not good. Like I'm not even gonna lie to you and say like, hey, we can make this version that'll be better or whatever. It's just not. Like, and I know that's terrible to hear and it sounds awful, but like I've already put in all the work, so you don't have to. Like that's the way I feel about it. Like this deck or style of deck with Hilda tap their stuff probably has wasted about, I don't even think it'd be exaggerating and say like 15 hours of my life already. Like it just has too many matchups where it just doesn't do enough. Or you get in situations where I've watched somebody else play who tried to put one together, and it often was just like even against mono red, you're like, okay, well, I'm playing like a bitter chill or something, and they're like, okay, well now there's another creature. It's like, okay, well, I'm gonna play this junky bad thing. Like here, you're playing like I don't know, Ice Rot Sentry or something. You're like, all right, they just kill it and keep attacking, and it's just like you're not getting enough out of it. And it's like, okay, I drew a card, but awesome. But what are you drawing? Oh, I drew a sprite or whatever. You know what I mean? Like every version of this just doesn't have enough. Now, Runic Shot's actually pretty sweet. I don't mind that, but it's also sorcery speed, right? So you have to do it on your turn, try to get the value on it. I want this to be better. I genuinely do. Like I'm in your corner, 100%, but it's just not good right now. Trek says I made Hilda work in a Bant control deck, but ended up taking her out because she just gets exiled. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's the same thing, right? Like, literally, like this is Trek's comment here. Like, I had made Hilda work in a Bant control deck, but ended up taking her out because she just gets exiled, or you have to spend a ton of resources protecting her. That's the other issue, right? Your best card doesn't really do much. It's not like we're saying, it's just like it's worse than almost all the other cards the top end of the other decks get to do their thing, right? It's worse than an AO the Dawn Sky. It's worse than a hell, it's worse than all the planeswalkers you could play. It's worse than Thundering Raiju in a lot of cases. It's obviously worse than Shieldred, right? It just doesn't do enough. Her crown is better than she is. That's true. Actually, that actually is true. So yeah, this is a tough one because I would love to give more feedback to help make this better, but I feel like I'd just be setting you up for failure right now. Like this is one where I would say just take it a different direction. At least for now. Like now, don't get me wrong, maybe something comes out in the next set that taps things down. Maybe we get another card in whatever that is, Markov Manor or whatever, that cares about your opponent tapping creatures or whatever. And then maybe this is playable. But right now, it feels like it's probably 2 cards short of being at least reasonably competitive on the ladder. I probably still wouldn't play it in a tournament if we got whatever those 2 magical cards will be, but I could at least see myself playing it on the ladder. But it feels like it's at least that far away. Because again, just too many of these, like you're just at a disadvantage, right? Where like this is 2 mana to tap a thing. This is a sorcery speed spell. This doesn't really do much. You know, like it's fine, but it's you know, you got to spend 3 mana to have this 1/1 flyer at the end of the day. Like this is fine. Taps a thing, draws a card, so it can like buy you a turn sometimes. Spellbook Vendor's fine, but like Bitter Chill, sure, you tap a thing down for a while. Like, but they're just not doing anything, right? You're getting value and like, okay, I'm drawing, I'm scrying, but like, when are you really closing the clock? And you have like Dream Shackle guys, but it's only 1 toughness, and we know how bad 1 toughness things are right now in the current meta, right? It's just kind of across the board. Current thing with Hilda is additional mana to use her abilities. Yeah, that is true, right? Because Hilda on her own doesn't do anything, right? Like you do the thing, but then you still have to pay another 1 to get a benefit, right? So not only did you tap a thing, you had to spend more mana. So even if you took the option to draw a card, you may not even have the mana to play the thing that you drew. Now, if she was automatic to do that thing every time you tap something, that would be a lot better. Because if you do play her with 4 mana and you got stuck on 4 mana, then maybe you could like bitter chill twice or plunge into winter, bitter chill, and then get 2 4/4s or whatever, and immediately turn the game around, right? Like that would make it a lot better, but it's tough. It's tough. But anyway, yeah, sorry. That's kind of my dissertation on that. Like I want it to be better. It's a side project I'm working on, but even now I'm to the point that I've almost emotionally given up on it. Like it's I'm so close to wanting to give up, but like I'm just keeping it on the docket because I might get around to it again at some point. But yeah, it's a rough go right now on that one. Let's see. Who else do we have? Did we get everybody? Did we get almost everybody? All right. I think we got through there. Surprising. Oh, there's still one more actually in Discord. So we'll take a look at this one. Oh my gosh, you gave it to me in a format that I can't download this. This is not going to work. You gave me a link, but it's not to anything I can download. Like, oh, I'm talking to Frenchie, by the way. FRENCHEY. Yeah, this just takes me to some page with a pile of cards that don't look at all like the deck you said this should be. Is there a way I can export this? Nope, I can't. Yeah, I wouldn't even know how I could get that from this list right now. But it looks like maybe a blue-black mill deck, and my first inclination is going to be to maximize your stuff that mills because you aren't even doing that yet. Like Invasions of Amonkhet and all that, you should have maximum numbers of those, and that would help quite a bit. But I would also say from looking at it, though, I would overhaul this whole thing. It's a mill deck without enough mill cards. I mean, there's Jace. Right now, there's 4 Jace, 2 Invasion of Amonkhet, and like really that's it. Cruel Somnophage. It plays the artifact that mills, but like at that point, I mean, I guess this is just a control deck that has a mill option to win, which we've kind of seen that. Just remove the small creatures because they don't do anything like the invasion or Evangel of Synthesis. Just play more removal. Do what the deck does, and you'll be fine. Like, there's really not much else to say about it. It's really just the blue-black control decks that use a mill option to kill, which we've seen quite a few of those on the ladder already. So I don't really have much to add to that one, at least. Legend VD made a video with Hilda and Historic Brawl, totally. And there's even more stuff to tap things in Historic Brawl, so you have more options. And just better cards you can play. That's the other thing, right? It's the quality of stuff you get to play right now that is able to tap stuff that's not very good. It's like bad 2/3s or bad 3/1s or whatever that just don't have really a significant upside. And that's kind of the problem. But yeah, I'd want Hilda to be better. That's for certain. Like I said, I want to build that deck. I just already know it's not great. Let's see what else we got going on here. But yeah, I was just saying, like, I do have some other decks that I've been working on. That's why I brought it up earlier. It's like I do have like a version of green white enchantments, the green red haystack, some land graveyard stuff. I'm kind of goofing around to get with again. The Angels flash deck because that's like the thing of the moment. Lots of people are playing that, so I'm trying my hand at that at some point. I do have a sellsword deck, but it's basically just red green aggro with the sacrifice element. I'll probably have that as a video sometime by the weekend. That'll probably be up. And then just like a bunch of other stuff. Like I saw a list from Ash Lizzle I wanted to break apart with the Mardu Sacrifice I thought was kind of cool. I have a Boros Bombardment list, which is neat. I have a Naya Tokens list I want to visit. So yeah, I have a bunch of stuff just kind of working in here. But yeah, I have a bunch of lists that like sometimes I come back to and I'll fiddle with a little bit. And if it's not there, then I'll just set it aside. I'll come back to it when I have some downtime. But I think that's the thing too. I think a lot of people just assume we just build decks and put them up and they work. And it's like, no, I waste sometimes 3-4 hours on a deck till I get a version that actually works to make a video from. So it's not just, hey, let's put cards on the list and go for it. Like there's a lot more to it. And that's why I tell people generally, I think there's even a lot more to learn from the failures of a deck than from the successes of a deck. Because then when you have issues like what we experienced today for a lot of people, you would already get to see things that don't work, right? Like if we posted more content of decks that just didn't work, then when you go to build your decks, you're like, oh yeah, I remember so and so played this thing and those combinations don't work together, or this deck wasn't competitive enough, or whatever, right? And that could save you tons of time. But people only really want to watch the things that are winning, So like, just kind of the way it goes. New player enjoying MTG Arena the last few days. Says, not building and cultivating that takes a lot of time. Chronically, where it is weak and find ways to fix it. Yeah, that's kind of it, right? You're just trying to find the ins and outs. And the other thing too is a deck can be playable on the ladder and not be a tournament level deck. And that's hard for some people to understand. And there's some stuff in tournaments that are built for those environments, right? Especially at the pro level, because a lot of the pros know what other teams are working on and whatever. And you're playing best of 3, right? So they're playing with some inherent weaknesses, knowing that, okay, maybe 1 or 2 decks in the field are bad, and we'll just sideboard like 8 extra cards for that or 9 extra cards for that, whatever. Whereas you can't do that on best of 1 even, right? So those things that are good there don't always translate to the ladder. And to be fair, on the arena ladder, people are just playing different stuff than you'd see in a tournament anyway. So like if I go to a tournament, I'm pretty sure what I'm going to face probably 5 or 6 different decks. Maybe another couple that are tier 2 that some people are bringing or whatever, but I'll have a rough idea of what the environment's going to like. On the ladder, it could be anything, so that's a point. The other thing too is don't get enamored with the idea of like a thing doing well at Mythic is better. If you watch a lot of people play at Mythic, myself included, you'll see that a lot of people are playing a lot more random stuff at Mythic than they are at the lower ranks. And especially as like right now, where we're getting closer toward the end of the month, as that day gets closer and closer, people go back to playing decks they know that are decent, so they have a better chance of ranking up and getting the rewards. But once they're at Mythic, unless they're trying to get into the top, whatever it is, 1,000 or 1,200 to play in the end of the month tournament or whatever, they're not grinding out the best decks just to keep leveling up. They know they're not going to put the time in to hit those ranks, so they're just playing whatever. They're already getting the max rewards. So that's where a lot of them are goofing off. At least that's been my experience. When I've talked to other people, they've had similar experiences as well. Marcus Miller says, hey, Dragon, thanks for the tips. I was a white black Lifegain deck. I took a lot of your advice, but I'm keeping the not dead after all because I love the combat. Hey, nothing wrong with that. It's always your deck. And I always tell people that. No matter what I say or any other person says or any other creator or pro or whatever, at the end of the day, it's your deck. If you like certain cards, you want to play certain combos, go for it. It is your stuff. Like all we're doing is giving advice. You do what you want with it one way or the other. Like there's no punishment. Yeah. Like it's free advice. Do what you want to do with it. Like nothing wrong with that at all. If you like a card, play a card. I tell people that all the time. Even when people come in my comments like, you should play this instead of this. I'm like, great, go put it in your version and have fun. And I'm not saying that to be mean, but I'm being honest about it. Like I have mine in my version for a reason. But if you want to play a different card because you like it or you've had success with it or whatever, go for it. Sometimes it's just weird like that. Like I've seen lists where my friends in person have had good luck with them. I played it in 3 tournaments in a row and did complete trash. And then we opposite things with decks I've done well with, right? So sometimes things just roll that way. I wouldn't worry about it too much. Any advice as to mono white aggro? Like I don't know, play the good mono white aggro cards. Like I don't know what really there is to say about it. Like there's already a bunch of mono white aggro decks. You can just look around on the internet. There's plenty. Like there's a bunch of videos with them. They played some at the World Championships. Like they all kind of play some pool of probably 12 or 15 cards, and some number of those are going to be in every list. Like we kind of know what the good cards are for mono white at this point. Stoked to catch live. Hey, Ian, how's it going? Let's see. Lots of work to figure out if losses are just bad shuffle or a deficiency too. Yeah, and that I think is the hard thing for people to parse whenever they're deck building. I think there is a reality to sometimes you're just going to hit bad luck, or sometimes you're just going to get lucky. And I've said that in my videos. Like I've had some decks that we went, I don't know, like 8-0 or 7-1 or whatever, right? And I've said in the videos, like, I'm pretty sure I got lucky in these 2 or 3 games, or don't expect this to happen, or whatever, right? And that's what I always tell people when you watch these videos, whether it's me or somebody else, don't just look at wins or losses. Look at how the deck won and how the deck lost, because sometimes it's just like, okay, the games were close, but then you lost because you drew nothing on 4 turns in a row. Okay, well, if I get any one of like 10 different cards, possibly win the game, right? So is that matchup a bad matchup? No, probably not, right? But the same way that you win sometimes, it's like, oh, well, this deck beats the domain decks. Well, sure, but my opponent never got a second white to be able to depopulate or sunfall, maybe, right? So like it's a win, but if they got that other card or was able to cast one of those other cards, like what does that look like? Right. So you kind of have to look at those games with a little bit of analysis other than just get to the end of the video and it's like, oh man, this deck was 8-0. It's undefeated. But it's like, well, sure, but you played an opponent that played bad, and then I don't know, like opponent got unlucky, and then you top deck a card you needed out of the blue. Like, okay, so there was some random luck that went in there, and maybe 3 of those wins could have been losses very easily, right? And I see that happen a lot where people will see a deck and then they'll go into somebody's comments and be like, I don't know how you won with this deck. I'm 0-5 and whatever. And it's like, okay, well, there's a lot of reasons for that, other than potentially got lucky in the video. Could be a real thing. Also, you play differently than the person who played it, right? Like you got different opponents with different matchups. Like that could be a thing. Or different skill levels of opponents. That could be a thing, right? So there's so many things that can affect that all the time. Um, mm, 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 mm. Let's see. Red the Fed says need a big sample size for good data. Yeah, then that's the other problem too. Most of the time, for the players that are always just chasing, like, I need another good deck, right? They'll play a deck, do well for a couple of days, start struggling. Okay, I got to get the next deck. The problem with that is they're not even playing through the variants, right? The deck they're playing could be a 55% deck or whatever. But because the minute they hit a stretch of like 3 or 4 rough games, they decide to quit playing it, they're not getting past that downswing variance to get back into the winning, right? That's a tough thing. Also, just you don't really know, right? It could be a string of just bad luck, but you won't know that unless you have play a bunch of games. And the other thing that comes with playing a bunch of games is you get more experience. Sometimes it's just like, okay, well, now I know what this deck needs to play around, or I know what cards are likely to cause this issue during combat, or all right, I've played this matchup enough to know I don't want to play this on turn 2. I want to play this other card turn 2, right? Those little things turn things that would otherwise be losses into wins. But you also don't know that unless you've played 40, 50 games with the deck, right? Not 10 games with the deck. And I think that's a struggle a lot of people aren't into as well. So there's a lot that goes into this when people are saying, like, well, what makes a winning player? What's not, like, there's so many things, right? And I think the tough part is a lot of people pick up the game and want to be good at it immediately because they were good at something else. Or even worse, people that have success one time in Magic expect that that's supposed to happen every time. And I had friends that like they did well for like one season for of PTQs, right? They top 8 at a bunch of events. Maybe they qualified for the Pro Tour one time, and then they struggled the next 2 or 3 seasons, and they're like, "That's it, I'm quitting this game. This is stupid, whatever." Not really taking into account that maybe they were playing the best deck in the format at a time. Maybe because they played the deck the whole season, they got really good with it, right? Maybe one tournament that they qualified in, they got some good breaks go their way or whatever in the top 8, right? A bunch of things could be affecting that. But just because you have success once doesn't mean it's owed to you every time. Also, the idea of just people saying, like, well, Wizards has Arena set up to where you can't win more than 6 times in a row. And then it's like, that's crap. Anybody who's watched any videos from any creators, several of us have at least 1 or 2 videos where we've won 8, 9, 10, 11 times in a row. We've also had times where we've gone like 0-4, 3-3, whatever. Like, here's the funny thing about all that. You have these people who will say Wizards is inept. They can't hire any programs that are worth a damn, any programmers that are worth a damn. Like, they're technologically stupid, whatever. But then we'll give you these conspiracy theories that they're doing all these things behind the scenes, right? For no real benefit. Because who gains from just saying, like, magically somebody can't win any more games? Right? They've even gone to the point of saying, like, oh, well, they know what accounts you play on, so they're giving you more luck or whatever. And I'm like, have y'all watched my videos? Like, I have time just like everybody else where sometimes I draw like 4 lands in a row. Hell, I think on today's video, I think I had a game where I just drew like 5 lands or something to start the game or whatever, right? Like, things happen, right? Like, that's part of playing a game with randomness. Like, that's Wizards doesn't have to, like, if that was the case, then any type of tournaments would just be screwed all the time. Anybody who started 5-0 or 6-0 would never win a tournament according to their rules, right? If you believe that. Like, you couldn't go like 4 or 5-0 and then you play another round in the top 8 and quarters or whatever and then you lose, right? It just wouldn't make sense. Like, unless they literally are monitoring every single tournament and then turning off that switch on every single person that's ever playing. Like, that's just stupid. It just doesn't make sense. It's just not a thing. Bowser Koopa says, game designed to have variants actually have variants. Shocking. Yeah, that's basically it. In my opinion, what archetype is better to build for beginner deck builders? Tempo, mid-range, or control? Neither of those. I would just say aggro. And not because aggro is easy. I think that's actually a misconception. I think a good aggro player is making way more decisions and doing way more math than a control player is doing during their games. Because control is just like, how can I stay alive till I sweep the board, right? That's not whatever. But the thing about playing an aggro deck is it's easier to visualize the goal without knowing everything else, right? Because to play a mid-range or control deck or whatever, like, you also get an edge by knowing the format better or knowing what a particular deck might look like, what cards they might include or whatever, right? When you're new, you're not going to know all that stuff. So playing creatures says, okay, I'm mostly going to worry about how do I keep my things alive and maximize my damage. There are other things as you play, you'll start to, I don't like that card, or like, oh, if this thing kills my creatures all the time or whatever. You'll figure that out. But I would say starting with creatures is probably the best thing because it's the easiest to understand with the minimal amount of knowledge. That just makes the most sense to me. Yeah. All right. Man, we went quite a bit today. A bit longer than I thought we were going to go. But it's been almost 2 hours. This was good. We had a good chat. We worked on, I don't know, what felt like 20 decks. So, like, that was pretty good. That was pretty good. I do want to say, like always, if you're on Twitch and you have a dangling Prime you haven't used, I'd appreciate it. If not, make sure you give it to somebody, even if it's not me. Take those Bezos bucks back, give them to somebody, right? Don't let them go to waste if you got one. The other thing, too, don't forget, I'm posting stuff on YouTube all the time, literally every day. I'm also on 2 podcasts now. So wherever you download your podcast, you can look up Color of Magic. That's my podcast where we talk about kind of more serious stuff in the gaming industry. And I'm on Magic Mics. So we're mostly talking about Magic news on there more often than not. So you can check those 2 things out. Much appreciated. Oh, hey, thanks for the Prime sub there. Much appreciated. So yeah, those 2 things. I have merchandise linked on my YouTube channel if you want to get that stuff. If you're on Twitch, I have a bunch of sponsor links down below. You can check that stuff out. Even if you want to send me a gift, I have a wish list on there as well. So man, lots of things happening. Lots of things going on. I have some videos I want to work on. Oh, the other thing too. I have these. Actually, let me put them on a bigger screen here. Because I have these. These have been sitting right now. Well, I say sitting around. These I kind of just got, but these have been sitting around for a minute. I'm probably going to open these, and I want to do something fun with them. I just don't know what. I might make shorts out of them, but I might do giveaways with the cards inside. Don't really know yet, but these are actually pretty cool. And I don't think the value is going to go significantly up or not, unless you get one of like the super rare things out of here in like foil or whatever. So I might just crack these and see what we get out of those because I think it could be fun just to do something different. Giveaway to your most recent sub. Maybe something like that. Maybe everybody who subs in a given month will go into a pool or something. We'll do something like that. But yeah, man, there's just so much stuff going on right now. Obviously, lots of Magic news. We're going to start previews next week for Ixalan, so that's going to be a thing. Which more dinosaurs and stuff, so that's always going to be cool. I don't even know what I'm going to do for the holiday stuff yet. I'm trying to come up with a fun thing for YouTube to do on those. It's just going to be a lot of things, man. Like, there's just so much. But I appreciate y'all. I say that a lot, but truthfully, I know so many creators that have so many problems with their communities and everything else. And I'm just glad we have a lot of people that are helpful. But as always, be sure to check out the links down below in the description if you're on YouTube. We have links to the Discord and stuff. I think that's all linked below as well on Twitch. We do a lot of chats in there. A lot of people are getting deck help. It's also a way to keep up to speed when I have new stuff or I'm going to go live or whatever. I also post in there so you make sure you don't miss it. But yeah, otherwise, y'all know the drill. Wherever you're watching, whenever you're watching, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Love y'all so much. Remember to like this video if you haven't liked it yet, because that helps a lot. That'll help other people see it, because we did a lot in this video. So if people want deck help, there's a lot of decks we broke down. And those likes really, but I will say though, several of y'all did like this video, which helps. It really does. So I much appreciate it. But that's it. We're gonna get out of here. I'm gonna go eat. The neighborhood kids are now making noise. Y'all can probably hear them. But yeah, I love y'all. I really do. I'm gonna get back to working on some videos, so I'll have some stuff to watch tomorrow. But this was fun. We're gonna do it again. I have some other ideas for some live streams, so definitely see some more coming up, especially since we can live stream on both Twitch and YouTube now. But anyway, that's going to do it for me, y'all. I am out of here. As always, remember to take care of yourselves and your family and be awesome. And most importantly, be awesome to each other.